overhead explained. So here is the crux of the chapter. So what are overheads? So overhead are basically indirect, so the sum of indirect expenses, those costs which cannot be directly be traced into a specific cost center. For an example, the rent of the factory, so it cannot be traced to a specific cost center as it covers every cost center or every part of the organization. For an example, renting may cover assembly department as well as production, non-production, every department. In production, assembly and machining department and finishing department it may cover, and in non-production center it may cover administrative and sales, warehouse, etc. So indirect expenses may contain production and non-production overhead. So production overhead are those overhead which cannot be traced directly, but it contributed in production of the goods and services. So in production also there may be fixed and variable. Fixed and variable. So the rent may be fixed, whereas the indirect material may be variable in production overhead also. And in non-production overhead we have administrative, sales and distribution. So the production department examples are assembly, machining and finishing, and we also have production service cost center. So these are production cost centers, and the examples of production cost centers are assembly, machining and finishing, and those which helps the production cost center to operate are production service cost center. So these may contain maintenance, canteen and stores. So absorption costing, the meaning of absorption costing is that recovering the production overhead by absorbing them into the cost of product. Okay, so the production overhead are scattered, they cannot directly be traced. So for that reason we have absorption costing, which recovers the production overhead, and absorbs it into a product. So it helps to find the actual price of the product, not just the direct cost of the product, not just including the primary cost. It also includes absorbs the indirect cost which cannot be directly be identified or calculated. So the main absorption costing is to recover overhead. Okay, so absorption costing involves following stages: allocation, apportionment of overhead to different production cost center. So allocation means directly allocating the indirect expenses. For an example, if salary are paid 5,000 to each production department, then it is called allocation. So apportionment means those costs which are not directly given in form of money, but we need to convert the apportionment basis into money. For an example, if we have rent of area of 5,000 square kilometer and rent of 1 lakh, then if we have 4 departments, then we need to apportion the total budgeted overhead on the basis of rent. So if one, for an example, the total area is 5,000 and assembly department covers 1,000 area, then 1 lakh divided by 5,000 is like 20,000, and we need to multiply it with 1,000 as the assembly department covers 1,000 area. 1,000 times 20, 20,000, and so on. Like finishing department covers 2,000 square meter, then we have to multiply 2,000 times 2,000, that is 40,000. So that's how apportionment works. And reapportionment, so basically reapportionment means the apportionment of production service cost center into production cost center. So that's it, production service cost center into production cost center, reapportionment. It is also apportioning, but it is apportionment of production cost service cost center into production cost center, and then we absorb the overhead into the product. So IS to inventory defines. Okay, so inventory, IS 2 defines inventory as all cost of purchase and cost of conversion and other costs incurred in bringing the inventories to their present location. So cost of purchase include we have import duty, that is tax, and then freight inward, so like that. And cost of conversion means direct labor, direct material, and like that. And it exclude wastage, storage, administrative, and distribution cost. So that's it. What? Storage, administrative, wastage, storage, administrative, and distribution cost. Okay, it does not include inventory, doesn't include. So we have first step of absorption costing. The first step is allocation and apportionment. So allocation means direct expense to specific cost center, for an example raw material to assembly cost center. Apportionment means indirect expense shared among cost center because they cannot be allocated to a specific cost center. Okay, allocation means direct expenses to a specific cost center. Okay, so I may have given misinformation earlier, so correct that. Direct expenses allocation means, apportionment means indirect expenses, and reapportionment means service cost center indirect expense apportion to production cost center. That's it. So this is apportionment, as I had told. Floor equal to rent, carrying amount of, that is machinery, carrying amount of non-current asset, that means depreciation, number of employees for canteen cost. Okay. So illustration 1, we have allocation budgeted. So here's the question. Indirect material 2000, rent 15, 520. Budget cost we have here given for each indirect things. So and then we have to allocate here. So we have here basis of allocation. So I will only explain one of these, and all of them are done in the same way. So we have here the basis of allocation, and we have here total budgeted expenses. So for an example, if we have rent is calculated on the basis of area. Total budgeted expense is 15,000, and we have here base is area square meter. So here we have all the departments of the company. That is, we have 2 cost center and 2 production service cost center. That is service cost center, we have production cost center, and service cost center, we have these 2. So assembly department covers 1000 area, finishing 2000, and maintenance area covers 500, and canteen covers 500. So total area is 4000. So rent is apportioned to all cost center in rent on the basis of area. So total rent cost is 15,000. Total area occupied is 4000. So apportioned to assembly cost center is area of assembly covered by assembly divided by total area times total cost, and total cost times total area times total cost. Yeah. So 1000, 4000, 15,000, so 3750 is apportioned to assembly department. So like that, all of these are done. In indirect material budget, it is already apportioned in the form of money, so we don't need to apportion it on the basis of anything. It is already apportioned. So that's it. So yeah, so apportionment goes like this. So we are talking about reapportionment now. त्यो ओभरहेड एनालाइसिस सिट बनाउँदाखेरि अब यसरी बनाइदिने हो चट्टा लगाएर। यो त मैले बनाएको थिएन है, तर यसरी बनाउनु रहेछ। यो 7000, यो 20,000, यो अब त्यो यसरी गरिदिनु टोटल गरेर हानेर हैन। So now let's go about reapportionment. So crux is that service cost center cost bifurcated to production cost center. That's it. So we have made a direct method, step down, and reciprocal. In direct method, we transfer the maintaining the production service cost center directly to production cost center. But we don't include the employee of service cost center. Okay, that's it. And step down apportionment means First of all, we transfer one of the service cost center to all of the production cost center and production service center. For an example, we have two production cost center and two production service cost center. So production cost center are assembly and finishing, whereas production service cost center are maintenance and canteen. So first of all, we transfer canteen canteen cost to all production and service cost center, that is maintenance, finish and assembly. Then we transfer with new amount. So first of all, we transfer canteen amount equally to all of these. So maintenance also got some of the canteen's expenses, so we need to add the new amount to maintenance, and then again we have to transfer the maintenance amount to finish and assembly department. So reciprocal reapportionment means basically transferring until it becomes one. Okay, so for an example, first of all, we transferred maintenance to canteen, finishing and assembly. Then again we transfer canteen to maintenance, finishing and assembly. Again we transfer maintenance to canteen, finishing and assembly. Again we transfer canteen to finish. So like that it goes and on and on. Okay, so what I mean that I'm gonna explain what I mean by don't include the employee service cost center in direct method of reimbursement. I'm gonna explain that. So I'm just gonna explain the direct reimbursement because I know that I can do the step down reimbursement and reciprocal reimbursement. So here we have overhead. SME 17,350, finishing 20. Okay, these are the amounts. Okay, so number of employees here given for canteen. Okay, for assembly we have given the percentage in order to reapportion. For the basis of reapportionment, we have here people, here percentage. So here total employees 48. Okay, in canteen the total employees 48. We don't include maintenance and canteen. We only include assembly and finishing. We only include production department, not service cost center. Okay, so now we have to reapportion as we had done in the apportionment of the production cost center. So same like that. So these are apportion. Okay, that's it. Format or bhayega. So in step down reapportionment, we include all the employee, okay, except the service cost center which provides its service, maintenance, finishing and assembly. We total is sum of all these. Okay. Okay, okay. अब इक्वेसनबाट गर्ने त त्यही हो. पहिला सुरु इक्वेसनमा. ओके, यहाँ आएछ इक्वेसनमा चाहिँ के भने भन्दाखेरि पहिला सुरु चाहिँ अब मेन्टेनेन्स हैन, इक्वेसन बनाउने. मेन्टेनेन्स भनेको के हो, 18,600 प्लस 20% अफ क्यान्टिन वाइज. किनभने पहिला सुरु चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ क्यान्टिनलाई पनि अब चाहिँ पर्सेन्टेजमा कन्भर्ट गऱ्यौँ क्या. टोटल चाहिँ भनेको 60 आयो होइन. 60 को 18 भनेको 30%, 60 को 30 भनेको 50%, 60 को 12 भनेको 20%. सो मेन्टेनेन्समा कति गयो, 20% गयो भनेपछि 18,600 प्लस 20% अफ क्यान्टिन ओभरहेड. अनि क्यान्टिनको के हो, 6600 प्लस 10% अफ मेन्टेनेन्स ओभरहेड, यहाँनिर 10% दिएको छ. अब यो इक्वेसनलाई चाहिँ दुईटालाई खोलिदिने होइन. अब यहाँनिर एउटा युज गर्ने जस्तो हामीले चाहिँ एम युज गरेँ होइन. एममा चाहिँ हामीले सीलाई चाहिँ सब्स्टिट्युट गऱ्यौँ. सीको भ्यालु के छ, 6600 प्लस 10% अफ एम. सो अब यो सबै ओपन गर्दै जाने होइन. पछि चाहिँ पर्सेन्टेजलाई डेसिबलमा कन्भर्ट गर्नु पऱ्यो. ब्र्याकेट ओपन. त्यसपछि अब यो अननोनहरूलाई गर्ने. अब एमको भ्यालु यति. अब त्यसपछि त्यही हो, एमको सब्स्टिट्युट गर्ने सीमा सब्स्टिट्युट गरेपछि फाइनलमा अब एसेम्ब्लीमा नि सब्स्टिट्युट गरिदिनु, फिनिसिङमा नि सब्स्टिट्युट गरिदिनु. द्याट्स फिनिस्ड. ओके, अब आयो एब्जर्प्सन, मेन एब्जर्प्सन. ओके, अब चाहिँ टोटल चाहिँ अब अब ओभरहेडहरू एलोकेट भइसक्यो, एप्रेसन भइसक्यो, रिएप्रेसन भइसक्यो भनेपछि अब चाहिँ अब युनिट अफ कस्टमा चाहिँ एब्जर्ब गर्नु पऱ्यो क्या। त्यही हो भने एब्जर्बसनको बेसिस भनेको युनिट अफ प्रडक्ट, मेसिन आवर्स, लेबर आवर, पर्सेन्टेज अफ प्राइम कस्ट, पर्सेन्टेज अफ डाइरेक्ट वेजेस, द्याट्स इट। ओभरहेड एब्जर्बसन रेट ओके। ओएआरको फर्मुला बजेटेड प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड डिभाइडेड बजेटेड टोटल एब्जर्बसन अफ बेसिस, एब्जर्बसन बेसीमा त्यही युनिट प्रड्युस, मेसिन आवर, लेबर आवर त्योहरू पर्छ। अब त्यही हो। अब ओएआर पनि दुई प्रकारको हुन्छ, एउटा हुन्छ इन्डिभिजुअल ओएआर र अर्को हुन्छ ब्ल्याङ्केट ओएआर। इन्डिभिजुअल ओएआरमा चाहिँ सेपरेट कस्ट सेन्टरको चाहिँ अब सेपरेट एब्जर्बसन बेसिस होला। फर एन एक्जाम्पल द एसेम्बली प्रोडक्सन कस्ट सेन्टर मे हेभ एब्जर्बसन बेसिस अफ direct labor hours, and the machining may have machining labor hours. So we need to calculate the OAR as according with the basis of apportionment and the amount allocated to the cost center. So these are separate. And we have blanket OAR, that means we need to just consider one basis of apportionment or total दुईटाको एड गरिदिने, दुईटाको मेसिन आवर र लेबर आवर नि एड गरिदिने, अनि दुईटाको बजेटेड ओभरहेड प्रोडक्सन पनि एड गरिदिने। सो त्यही हो, सम अफ अल बजेटेड प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड डिभाइड बाई सम अफ अल बेसिस अफ एप्रोर्सनमेन्ट, or if the question specifies a certain basis of apportionment, then we need to use the certain basis of apportionment. That's it. Individual and blanket OAR, simple as that. And then we have OAR per unit. So यो क्वेसन अलिकति बुझ्नुपर्छ, सिम्पल भएन, अलिकति इफेक्टिभ छ। Here we have prime cost $16, that is sum of direct labor, direct material and direct expenses. So direct labor 2 hours for 2 hours at the rate of $5, that means 2 times 5 10, 1 kg at the rate of $5 per kg, that means 5. Okay, so we summed all and we got $16. Okay, direct expenses. So in order to make a product, we just don't include direct expenses for a actual price of the product. We also need to include the indirect expenses or overhead, as we had already talked. We need to absorb the indirect expenses from production overhead such as assembly or any or production cost center. We need to absorb all for the actual cost of the product. So here we have heating 3000, power 2000, maintenance 500, total 5500. So sales 1000 unit. So what is the OAR? The OAR is overhead absorption rate, right? OAR, overhead absorption rate, is budgeted fixed overhead divided by budgeted production. So we have 5500 budgeted production and 1000, so we got 5.5, prime cost 16, so total cost is 21.5. So in order to make one product, we need to expend $21.5. That's just easy days. How blanket total AR पढिहाल्यो, इन्डिभिजुअल OAR पढिहाल्नु पऱ्यो। त्यो अन्डर ओभर एभरेसन गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा कुरा यति हो, फर्स्ट अफ अल वी निड टु क्यालकुलेट द OAR. सो द फर्मुला अफ OAR इज बजेटेड ओभरहेड डिभाइड बाई budgeted production, budgeted level of activity, budgeted overhead divided by budgeted level of activity, OAR. अनि के सेकेन्ड डेमा ओभरहेड एब्जर्बको फर्मुला भनेको OAR टाइम्स एक्चुअल लेभल अफ एक्टिभिटी। अब कम्पेयर गर्ने एक्चुअल र अब्जर्बको फर्मुला के OAR टाइम्स एक्चुअल लेभल। अब ओभरहेड अब एक्चुअल बढी आयो भने ओभर, कम आयो भने अन्डर, त्यति हो। यति अब वर्किङ ब्याकवर्डमा अन्डर ठिक छ। अब यति अब के हुने, यो इन्डाइरेक्ट मेटेरियल इस्यु फ्रम स्टोर। अब स्टोरबाट घट्यो इन्डाइरेक्ट मेटेरियल, हामीले यहाँनिर के डेबिट र क्रेडिट, प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड बढ्यो होइन, किनभने प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड भनेको प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेडको मेटेरियलहरू बढ्यो क्या। इन्डाइरेक्ट मेटेरियल चाहिँ स्टोरबाट इस्यु गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड बढ्यो, इन्भेन्ट्री घट्यो। इन्डाइरेक्ट यसको चाहिँ त्यही रहेछ, यसमा नि इन्डाइरेक्ट प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड बढ्दो रहेछ, लेबर अकाउन्ट चाहिँ घट्दो रहेछ होइन। एक्सपेन्स पर्चेस भनेपछि पेएबल्स बढ्यो, इन्डाइरेक्ट एक्सपेन्स पनि, प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड पनि बढ्यो, इन्भेन्ट्री बढ्यो, इन्भेन्ट्री प्रोडक्सन ओभरहेड होइन, इन्भेन्ट्री बढ्यो। ठिक छ, यति हो।